For centuries, Europe dominated global affairs. Europe was once the unquestioned center of the world. It built empires, controlled global trade routes, and shaped the modern political and economic system we live in today. For centuries, power flowed through European capitals. But today, something feels different. Factories are shutting down, energy prices are crushing industries, and economic influence is slowly drifting away from the continent. There's no dramatic collapse, no single moment where everything breaks, just a quiet decline. This is the story of how Europe began losing its edge and why the rest of the world is moving on.
Europe's Golden Age. For much of modern history, Europe defined global power. Its cities became financial centers, its factories powered industrial revolutions, its ideas shaped governments, laws, and economies across the planet. After World War II, many believed Europe was finished. Instead, it rebuilt. Germany transformed into an industrial powerhouse, France became a diplomatic heavyweight, and Western Europe emerged richer, safer, and more stable than ever before. The creation of the European Union promised something unprecedented: peace through cooperation, prosperity through integration. For decades, the model worked. Living standards rose, trade expanded. Europe became one of the wealthiest regions on Earth. But beneath that success, weaknesses were quietly growing.
Europe's prosperity depended on a delicate balance: cheap energy, stable global trade, and predictable geopolitics. Unlike the United States, Europe produced relatively little of its own energy. Instead, it relied heavily on imports. A fragile foundation. As long as energy was cheap and reliable, this system made sense. European industry became highly efficient, but also highly dependent. Factories were optimized for trust, not resilience. Supply chains stretched across borders. Energy security was assumed, not guaranteed. It worked beautifully until the assumptions stopped holding. And when that foundation cracked, the entire structure began to shake. The creation of the European Union promised something unprecedented: peace through cooperation, prosperity through integration. For decades, the model worked. Living standards rose, trade expanded. Europe became one of the wealthiest regions on Earth. But beneath that success, weaknesses were quietly growing. The energy shock. When energy prices surged, Europe felt the impact immediately. Electricity costs soared, natural gas prices exploded, industrial margins vanished almost overnight. Energy-intensive industries were hit first. Chemical plants cut production. Steel mills slowed or shut down. Aluminum smelters became unviable. Germany, Europe's industrial heart, was suddenly struggling to compete. This wasn't just about cost. Energy became unpredictable, and uncertainty is toxic to industry. Companies don't invest when they can't forecast prices. Factories don't expand when power supply is unstable. The energy shock didn't just raise costs, it undermined confidence. Deindustrialization in real time. Faced with rising costs and uncertainty, companies had a decision to make: stay in Europe and absorb the losses, or move production elsewhere. Many chose to leave. Some relocated to the United States, where energy was cheaper and subsidies were generous. Others moved to Asia, where manufacturing ecosystems were already in place. Europe didn't lose factories overnight. It lost them gradually, one closure at a time, one relocation at a time. And once industrial capacity leaves, it rarely comes back. This is what deindustrialization looks like: not collapse, but erosion. Falling behind a moving world. While Europe debated solutions, others acted. The United States launched massive industrial policies, pouring money into domestic manufacturing.
China doubled down on exports, infrastructure, and scale. Factories were built, supply chains were secured, industries were protected. Europe, by contrast, moved cautiously. Regulations increased, energy costs stayed high, investment slowed. The result wasn't failure, it was stagnation. And in a world that's accelerating, stagnation means falling behind.
Demographics is the silent crisis. At the same time, Europe faces a challenge that no policy can quickly fix: demographics. Europe's population is aging faster than almost any other region. There are fewer young workers entering the labor force, more retirees depending on social systems, and increasing pressure on public finances. An aging society grows slowly, innovates less, and struggles to compete globally. Demographics don't cause sudden crises, they create long-term drag, and Europe is feeling that drag more each year.
Political fracture. Economic stress inevitably spills into politics. Across Europe, trust in institutions is weakening. Populist movements are gaining ground. Governments are becoming more fragmented. The European Union was built on cooperation and compromise. But unity is hardest to maintain when growth slows and resources feel scarce. Economic anxiety fuels political division, and political division makes economic reform harder. It becomes a feedback loop, difficult to escape.
Europe is not collapsing. Its cities are still rich, its people are still educated, its institutions still function. But momentum is slipping. And in geopolitics, momentum matters more than comfort. Power doesn't disappear overnight. It moves slowly, quietly, and permanently. The real question facing Europe isn't whether it can survive, it's whether it can adapt fast enough before the world stops waiting.